9 Eyes Never Shut. Chapter 9. A Better Person. You knew it was them? Yes. You've been scrying on them? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Cree shook her head. I do not need to explain myself. The lavender tiefling rolled his eyes. To me you do. Right now. This is my life, Cree. Mine. I had a right to know who is chasing me. What? So that you could turn around and run right back to them? Feline eyes narrowed as she snapped. That is my decision to make. No, it is not. This is our path, Nonagon. This is the life you made. We are all with you. Why do you not understand this? I was trying to help. If you knew they were looking for you, what would you have done? Tell me. Tell all of us. The tiefling stood stock still, surveying the watching group. Molly, if you're still in here, I could really use some help. Exactly. Cree was picking up her bag. They were all ready to depart. There is nothing back there for you, Nonagon. You are not who they are looking for, and they are certainly not going to be able to help us with this. Now, we are only a journey away from A5. We must get a move on. The tomb takers began to walk. But no one turned back. They left the space in the centre of their midst ready for him, but not one head turned to hear his plea. Let's go. Was that Molly, or was it just himself? The lavender tiefling blinked rapidly several times, then began to trudge through the snow to catch up with his party. They reached A5 sooner than Cree had predicted, but it did not give them any respite. Much of their day was spent setting up, rearranging, and then arranging again. The tiefling had helped with what he could, but as the day wore on, he found himself asking Cree for something he had been thinking about ever since he spoke into the glowing orb back in Vesta Rogner's bedroom. Cree was not impressed. Why bother? Why do you insist on speaking to them? Teasing and taunting is all fun and games, but I see no further point in this. Because they know me. Look, can you do it or not? Cree sighed, leaning her back against the cave wall. I thought you were insane to have spoken to them at all. But when you told me that you gave them information, you brought them here. You practically threw out the welcome mat. Nonagon, this is not wise. This is beyond teasing. This is... The tiefling cut her off. Can you do it or not? His tongue clipped every word. The rest of the tomb takers were setting their packs down, spreading out around their section of cavern, shuffling corpses and old ruined bedding out of the way. The tiefling kept his eyes on Cree, waiting. Eventually, the tabaxi seemed to decide to play along, if only to silence her companion for the time being. Very well. She rubbed her hands together, preparing to concentrate. Speak, and I will make sure the message goes through. The tiefling came to stand directly in front of her, thinking fast, as Cree began to cast the spell. What to say? What to say? I see them, Cree informed him. They're close. Speak now. Shit. Horrible start, but here we go. I'm so glad you decided to come. They were close. The mighty 9 were close. This was too much for him to bear. The excitement began to build. He couldn't see. He was delirious. Cree nudged him with her foot. We were somewhat worried I'd scared you off. Please don't hate me. Just let me be him. The tiefling thought of the 6 faces now etched permanently across his mind. Every one of them had brought him joy, and he them in return. It was a world away, a lifetime away. A lifetime not his. I wish none of this had happened. He thought of Yasha. Was Yasha with them? He wanted to see her most of all. I wish we were back at the circus. The Fletching and Moondrop travelling carnival of curiosities. He could see it. He could smell the straw of the ring, taste the booze around the campfire. He could see the cheering crowds. He remembered juggling swords. He remembered turning over card after card, bringing delighted smiles to some and shocked surprise to many. I wish I was back at the circus. The Fletching and Moondrop travelling carnival of curiosities. Something broke in the back of the tiefling's throat, and he whispered, It would seem curiosity always wins. He had to stop. Kree stayed silent as the tiefling backed away. He walked quickly to the cavern passage and swiftly along it towards the entrance. The snow was settling, the winds dying down. The mighty nine were close. What would they do? What could he possibly say to them? I wish none of this had happened. Crimson eyes filled with tears as the tiefling crouched over, hugging his knees. I wish I'd just stayed in the dirt. No, I don't. Molly's voice. That was Molly's voice. Clear and solid. That was Molly Mork's voice, coming from his own lips. But it sounded so much like his own. I don't wish I stayed in the dirt. Molly? Lucien thought inside his own head. The one and only. What happened? I thought I'd lost you. Should have listened properly, silly. I've always been here. You changed your mind on that, then? Yep, you were probably right. I'm as much a part of you as you are of me. Although I maintain I was right to want to stay as far away from your part of our story as possible. The lavender tiefling chuckled, wiping his eyes. All right, that I will grant you. Very true. He drew in a deep, ragged breath. That's it, Molly told him gently. We got this. We. The lavender tiefling knew now. He understood what needed to be done, how he must try to live from that moment on. Because the lavender tiefling could not be two people. The lavender tiefling wanted to be better than that. The lavender tiefling could forge a new person, a better person, a happy person, a person without baggage, without dirt and death. I am Lucien, the lavender tiefling said, in a voice somehow his and somehow Molly's too. And I'm Molly. The snow and wind were his only listeners. I like my bullshit, and I am not going back in the dirt. After a quarter of an hour, the lavender tiefling walked slowly back into the cavern. He was oddly calm. At least, he felt on the brink of some kind of peace. His reverie was short-lived. The tomb takers were noisily scurrying about, and Kree was barking orders as he rounded a final corner into the depths. Then, a new voice spoke, right between his ears, and the tiefling stopped still in the shadows to listen. Why are you doing this? What do you even want from us? Jester. It was Jester. Her usual sunny demeanour was missing, though. She sounded upset and worried. We just miss you. The tiefling felt his chest constrict at those words. I miss you too. I thought you were our friend. I am your friend. I am Molly. I'm not just this. Anyway, we're here. Jester's voice vanished, replaced by a faint buzzing. Lavender hands flew to his mouth to stifle a sob he could not break down. Not now. The buzzing remained, and the tiefling felt the pulse of magic reverberating with it. I can reply, then. Instinctively, he blurted out, I don't mean you any harm. Another sob threatened to overtake him, and he reined it in, mumbling, I'm just pursuing my interests. He was still keenly interested in what they were trying to do, but he was also very interested in the Mighty Nine. How were they now? Were they all still alive? Gods, what if another one of them had fallen? He brushed that terrible thought aside, adding in a much stronger voice, and if you have similar interests, well, I'm inviting you to come along. Would the Nine want to see their work? Would they listen? Or would they take one look at him and leave? They would know he wasn't the same. But he was more. He could prove that. But they might not want some new version of their friend. They wanted Molly back. And the Lucien part of the tiefling was more than a little inclined to give him to them. Panic seeped through him. They may well hate me. But they were here now. They were so close. Oh gods, they could be right outside. The tiefling bit his lip. You don't have to. The spell faded. He did not hear Jester's voice again.